This is Kelly Hill, technology reporter with RCR Wireless News. I'm here today speaking with Rob Wattenberg, product manager for drive testing with Rohde Schwarz. How are you, Rob?
Good. I'm great. Thanks, Kelly. How are you?
Good, good. So we're going to be talking about small cell and network-related testing today. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the trends that you folks are seeing in terms of testing related to small cells.
Sure. We're getting, as being part of drive test in general, when we talk about drive test, we're out in the field driving around. What we're seeing is, since people are using their devices indoors in small areas, the pressure is to get out of the vehicle and get into a pedestrian type environment. And that's been the trend for years, even before the deployment of small cells. So what we're seeing small cells do is just adding complexity. So we have a lot of customers we deal with who are deploying these things, and the sheer volume of stuff they deal with is much, much higher. So there's just a lot more activity and a lot more pressure on cost. So we're fighting that push and pull of do more out in the field, but do it with a lot less in terms of expenditures on test tools. So from a trend standpoint, we're seeing great pressure on reducing price of tools and reducing the complexity of them as well. And that comes from this desire from the carriers to just do things in one step. It used to be you'd have a guy design, a guy go out, put up test transmitters, do all kinds of RF propagation modeling, and go back to the office and design or procure stuff, go back out in the field, install it, then have another company come in and test it. Well, all that's all changed now. People are just taking their device, plugging it into the backbone, turning it on, and they want to rock and roll. So we have to be able to have that guy, that installer guy, also be able to test. So the simplicity of using the tool is very, very important for us. So, and as the small cell prices go down, the pressure on our stuff goes down as well in terms of pricing. So we've got a great deal of range of products that go from anywhere from the guy who's got just a very simple installation in a home to hospital installations where you've got multi-million-dollar projects going on.
Because the complications of the RF, they don't get any better even though it's smaller, right?
That's correct, yeah. And when we come and test these things, what we're really trying to do is emulate what a customer would do with their device. So we start with a device, the same device that they would buy in the store, and use that to judge the performance of the network. So we also extract from that, since we have access to all the modem trace information, we can extract all the critical KPIs that all the carriers are interested in seeing.
Speaking of KPIs, can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing in terms of demands for audio and video quality? Video is becoming a huge part of network traffic. Obviously audio, there's still concerns there, especially when you start talking about VoLTE. What are some of the things that you're seeing in those areas in terms of testing?
Sure. So in terms of audio, it's compelling to us because we see more people using the data side of their devices, less on the voice. But if there's one thing that matters most to people, it's the ability to communicate via voice. So if the carriers take their eye off the ball of voice, they could be losing customers at an alarming rate. It's critical to get it right. And as voice moves from the circuit switch domain to the packet switch domain, there's a whole other set of variables that come into play. So in terms of audio quality, we're seeing a much, much higher demand, primarily driven by VoLTE and refarming. Refarming because they're pushing people to these low bit rate vocoders that do compromise audio quality. And there's always this desire to understand, what does that really mean to my end customer? Are they going to get mad because I just made their audio quality worse? So understanding that's really important. Now on the video side, since most people are doing video with their devices as the primary use of data, what we have to do is keep up with the ever-changing players that are out there. If you look at YouTube, they are trying to be the best content delivery mechanism out there, which means they want to push the resolution of the video up, they want to push the bit rate up, they want to get more detail in every video they broadcast, but they got to deal with the pipe shrinking and growing and doing all kinds of crazy things. So what we're trying to do is use commercially available players and layer an algorithm on top of that allows us to produce a mean opinion score of the quality of the video that's being streamed. And it's been more and more challenging because the technology is evolving on the players. So we're seeing things even like adaptive resolution changes. So in the middle of a video, you'll see resolution change now, where in the past you didn't. And we have to pick up on that with these algorithms that we run in the smartphone. So we're seeing demand for the products driven by audio and video. It's what people are doing with their devices, and in the end, the underlying technology needs to be good enough to produce good audio and video. It doesn't have to be so good that it it can produce 4K on a cell phone. We don't need to have that yet. Maybe something. So that's really what we're seeing driving us in the tool side. And
it sounds like a lot of emphasis on the user experience rather than just the numbers from a test that show good RF coverage.
Exactly. Yeah. And we have a lot of cases where people and every carrier has their own special design dynamics, and they might say, hey, I need signals in this range to be good. And we'll say, hey, we can show you that if your signal is even a little lower than that, you're still going to serve your customers with excellent quality. So why go create potential interference issues by cranking up signals? So we using the user perspective is important, and obviously capacity has an impact on that as well. So time of testing and things like what we're seeing demand for is doing testing during, like, say, sporting events. It's one thing to go test in a venue when nobody's in there, but if you really want to see what's happening, you got to test when all the action's happening.
Okay, great. Well, I've been talking with Rob Wattenberg, Product Director for Drive Testing with Rohde & Schwarz. Thanks so much, Rob.
All right, you're welcome.